Hi, folks. I'm Richard Friedman, and welcome to my political cartoon countdown and Ukraine update for March 24th, 2022. Well, back again, folks. Good to see you. And every week or so, we get together, and I've been giving you the update of what's going on in Ukraine, plus the top cartoons on my political cartoons on Twitter, combining the two, and kind of working to give you a little humor and a little bit of what's going on. So, first of all, I'm going to start with what's been going on here. This is the Ukraine update. Now, here's the entire thing in a nutshell. Here, I try to put it into a capsule and make it very clear and concise. Now, the first place I think we should start is the focal point of Kyiv. Okay, now here we have. Got to be careful here because I sometimes mess up with these, like doing a weather forecast, you know. So here we got Kyiv here. You see. Now, originally, when they came in, that the idea was to take Kyiv from the get-go, and just the house of cards. They saw President Putin saw this as a house of cards, that they could just grab Kyiv and the whole house of cards of Ukraine would come falling down. But that didn't happen, and so here we are where we are today, and they're fighting back real hard. And what we have here is, you can see here, this is the Ukrainian flag here, where they're fighting. They're fighting in this is the northeast section here, where they fought back. The Russians they were close to the capital, and they fought them back here, back towards closer to Belarus, or to Russia. So they're away from this area now. So they had a victory here, but they're still coming in this direction. But their greatest victory so far has been in this area here, in the northeast section, where they have pushed them back. And Kyiv has taken a hell of a hitting, but those people in there, they're hanging tough, and they're holding their own, and they have not taken Kyiv. Okay, so that's the story with Kyiv. The biggest story there is that they're fighting back in this area here in the northeast, and they're fighting them back. That's the biggest story with Kyiv. Now here today, the Ukrainians had a victory here, where they blew up a Russian ship right here in this on a port city of Berdyansk. They did it. They didn't go onto the ship, because this city was one of the first cities they took when they came. The Russians took when they came in, because they came in through the Crimea, and this city was right there with the port. So that was one of the first things they got, and they held that pretty securely. But what they did, the Ukrainians did with their missile equipment, they fired a missile at the ship and blew the ship up. So what the Ukrainians did to the Russians is what the Russians been doing them. Now here the Russians have the city, and then they lobbed in a missile on them. The same way that the Ukrainians have the city of Kyiv, and here we're talking about on the other side all the cities that have been hit, but they're holding in there, and the Russians are lobbing in missiles and all kinds of stuff. So here it was in reverse, in a way, that the Russians were in control. Not really, they're in control and they're not in control, because the people of that city are still fighting back and protesting, but they really have control of the city. So that was, like I said, one of the cities they got when they came in there, because it was right here when they came through Crimea here. And there it was, a port city. So they have all these ships here that they fire from the sea, and this had a lot of troops, a lot of Russian troops that they bring in as well as a transport ship, and they blew it up with a missile. even though the Russians had the city, they were able to lob in a missile and take down and destroy the ship. In reverse to what the Russians are doing to them in their cities. It's reversal. So the Ukrainians are learning from the Russians the value of missiles. You don't have to sacrifice men. You just push a few buttons and you get your missile blasted off, and there it goes. So that's the big story of today, is that the ship was blown up. What's happening here in Marisol is a big disaster here for the people, poor people of Marisol. They blew up a nursing home. They blew up so many things here. It was a they blew up. That wasn't a nurse. It was a it might have been. It was a hospital, a maternity ward. They blew up they attacked a maternity ward. God, and they did that with their ships here across from the sea here, and they fired into them from the sea at Marisol. And now you have them coming up here. So Marisol is surrounded here, and what they're trying to do here is, again, this is something that I did a little research here, and I call this this is called the Putin. I named this the Putin Triborough Bridge. Here's the Putin Triborough Bridge. So what they've done is they've built a bridge from Russia over this strait here. This body of water is a strait, and they built a bridge over that into Crimea, and from Crimea into Ukraine. So you travel this way, you go this way all across here, up this way, up all this way, and now that's why this Mariupol is so important, because it connects to the Donbas region here, which is where they have Donetsk and Luhansk, and those cities that Putin declared independent states before he invaded. So those are already Russianized. So he's got like the Putin Express here, going over the Putin Triborough Bridge. Here is the Putin Triborough Bridge that connects Russia with Crimea, and then this isthmus here leads right here through Crimea, and there you go. And then you're into Ukraine here, and then it goes all the way up here, goes across, and it comes up, and he wants to connect the idea of connecting these independent states. I want to make sure I got this right here. These independent states with Crimea, with the folks, you see. So it's a whole progression here, like building an interstate. It's like the Putin interstate highway system. You know, that's it. It's like Putin I-95. You know, you go over your Putin Triborough Bridge here, you connect it to Crimea, and then you connect it to Ukraine, and there you go. And here's Russia right here. So you got your Russia, you got your Crimea, and you got Ukraine. 3 boroughs, you know, like Brooklyn, Queens, and the Bronx. You know? So anyway, I'm trying to give it to you in a little bit of a spoonful of sugar of what's going on here. You know, you don't get that from. I mean, I'm trying to give it to you in a spoonful of sugar. I'm not inside. I wish this wasn't happening, and I wish I wasn't doing this, but this is a story here. So this is the progression here. Now, we talked about Kyiv, and on the other side of the coin here is what's happening over here in Odessa. Now here down below here, okay, I want to make sure that I represent this right here. Here's Odessa. Now, Odessa is a port city, very valuable, and before they could get Odessa, again here, they want to take Mykolaiv. They've got Kherson. Kherson. They've got Kherson here. People are still fighting back. They really don't have total control of any city. Kherson was a city that got up very early in the game, and they were very dominant there. But there's still people protesting in Kherson in spite of that fact. But they really, from a military point of view, they have the city. Okay, so they got Kherson. Now they go to Mykolaiv, and then from there it's on to Odessa. Now, it's Moldova here is an independent country. Whether they go into there or not, whether they're in the neighborhood, I always say, that's again another big if. If they take another country, well, as long as they're in the neighborhood, So anyway, but the idea here is to get Odessa. So here you go. You hop from Kherson to Mykolaiv to Odessa. You see, and then again it goes this way, it goes this way, and it goes up this way, and it goes this way. And there you got, and now what's happening here up in Belarus, there's talk about the Belarusians coming in and helping the Russians to fight the Ukrainians, because the Russians are running out of men and they're running out of materials, and now the Belarusians are under their present leadership. Because they discovered that there's Russian equipment, military equipment, going into Belarus. So they're not going in there to fight the Belarusians. They're not sending their military equipment to fight Belarus. There's only one place they could be fighting, and that's Ukraine. So that's what's happening now. So people are saying that the probabilities are that Putin is going to head down here, the Russian weapons, and try to take Kyiv and reinforce his people over here in Kyiv, to try to take Kyiv with his reinforcements from Belarus. And then you have people saying that, well, that could be pretty bad, because then you replenish the Russian army with fresh forces, and then you have people who are saying, well, the Belarusians aren't that well equipped and they're not that skilled fighters, so they could end up shooting the Russians, end up attacking Russians by mistake, like the gang that couldn't shoot straight. The Belarusians could be the army that couldn't shoot straight, because they haven't really been they're not really known as a good fighting force. They haven't fought wars and everything like that. Why? And they have Russia to protect them, so they don't have to really train for anything with Russia protecting them like that. So you got to figure, who knows? It's a wild card there. What's going to happen with Belarus? It's a wild card. Whether they're the gang that couldn't shoot straight, or whether they're going to really make a difference. I think we'll just have to wait that one out and see what happens there. Or maybe they don't even, I don't know. It looks pretty good that the Belarusians are going to get involved. It looks that way, but who knows? Okay, now the other idea was because they can't, they don't have enough men to stop the flow of supplies. Let me make sure I got this right here. I want to make sure I'm in the right territory here. Yeah. Okay. So here you have Poland over here. Yeah. Okay. So all the materials coming through Poland this way, heading out east. So you got they could use the Belarusians to block some of the supplies getting through. You see, getting through here from the west, from out west, a lot of supplies are getting through, and they could use the Belarusians to disrupt the supply chain to the east, to the cities that are fighting for their lives, like Kiev and Mariupol here. Okay, so the cities now, the real cities that we have Kyiv, Kharkiv, and here Mariupol. Okay, those are the real. And now Odessa is bracing for an attack because of they're going to come across here, and Odessa is bracing for an attack now. A lot of people leaving Odessa now ahead of that, anticipating that. So let's see, we've covered everything here. Okay, all right, right. So you see, so they're coming across the top here, This is their neighborhood here, Donetsk and Luhansk, and they're trying to push across into Kiev. They've been pushed back, as I said, from Kyiv and Mariupol's taken really the worst city of them all as far as bombardment and deaths and destruction is Mariupol, and that's really, and those people have really, it just reminds me of being interested in history. Dresden, when the Allies bombed Dresden day and night during World War II in Germany. That's what it seems. That's what Mariupol comes to my mind. No one has mentioned that, but it comes to my mind from reading about the history here. Okay, another factor also is the hypersonics. Now, Russia has been using these hypersonic missiles come from planes flying out at sea, and bringing in these hypersonic missiles right here at Ivano Frank's. They hit an air base here with a hypersonic missile, and those things can't be shut down. You know, once those things go, and they could change course in midair. They change course in midair, and they could drop and go below the radar, and then change course and do almost like a living. It's like a diabolical Superman of some missile. They travel more than 5 times the speed of sound. So you can't shoot them down, and it's probably hard to track them if they're not on a consistent, like a tangent curve. They go this way, that way, and then they go this way around, and all that business, and at the speed of more than 5 times the speed of sound. And the thing about it is they're telling us that that we don't have to worry about those weapons, because we're going to have our weapons by 2025. We're going to have them in destroyers. Our hypersonic missiles will be in destroyers. I mean, I don't know how this happened that they got so far ahead of us in hypersonic weapons like that. I don't know how, and that's why I just saying to you this to be aware that could be why Israel is like doing the same thing as the Chinese are doing the same way, in terms of just holding their course, not taking drastic sides, because Israel has their Iron Dome now, and their Iron Dome could be turned into, they could turn that, a hypersonic missile could turn their Iron Dome into a toilet paper dome, because there's no way that you're going to have an Iron Dome for a hypersonic missile. So if the Russians should sell their hypersonic missiles to the enemies of Israel, and they start lobbing over hypersonics on Israel, that it ain't going to be good, because that Iron Dome is going to suddenly, like I said, is going to be what I just said it was going to be. So there you have it. So Israel is looking out for its survival in that respect. It doesn't want to mess with Russians' hypersonic missile from one of their enemies. So there you have it. Yeah, I didn't hear that from nobody. I just thinking about it. So there you go. Now let's see if there's anything else we got here to talk about. Okay. All right. Now, the other thing is that the Russians, aside from bringing in the hypersonics, bringing in Belarus, they're talking about bringing in mercenary fighters from Syria. Okay. Now Syria is right over here, Syria, okay? You see? And they have their Russian naval bases over here. So all I got to do is put a bunch of people into their ships and sail them over there. They got it all figured out. Here's the Russian naval base, which they got with Assad when Putin, supported Assad. In what happened there, I don't want to dwell on that, because that's another horrible tragedy. I'm not going to overwhelm you with tragedies. I'm not here to do that. I'm just trying to focus on the here and now with a spoonful of sugar, So I don't want to go into the history, real history, big time. But President Putin has his naval base right here in Syria. So all he has to do is take a whole bunch of those ships and load him up and bring him in here where he controls the port cities. He gets Odessa and he brings his people in through Odessa. All right, ain't nobody talking like this, you know. But I'm just telling you, I ain't no general. You know. But I was brought up in the Bronx, and I was in a lot of snowball fights and a lot of rock fights and a lot of bottle fights and lots and empty lots when we used to fight, have these battles. You know, these crazy battles with streets. I remember we have wars where one block would fight another block. You know, I lived on Nelson Avenue, and then there were the Clinton kids, and we'd fight with stones and rocks and bottles and cans in the lots and everything like that. And you had to duck. You know, I remember one time I just ducked at a bottle, it exploded right on top of my head. It hit it in all the glass, and I didn't get injured. A miracle. But that's the kind of you know, thing I remember living to surviving through that. So I've been snowball fights and all that. So I just think back to those days, and I remember thinking like this here, and so all these things. You know, I don't want to. Again, I give it to you with a spoonful of sugar. So let's make sure we got all the story here. Lviv is here over here. Now that's a place that hasn't been hit too much, but they're beginning to hit that now. And Lutsk, they're beginning to bother that. Okay, because they're trying to move out here and they don't have enough forces. So that's why the thought is they could use the Belarus forces and bring them in here, stop the supplies, and they've been lobbing missiles here that come close to the Polish border. You see? Okay. So they hit an underground weapon depot with a hypersonic missile over here. A weapons depot. They threw from the ocean, the planes fire those missiles up. Boom. You know, it's like a science fiction. Almost like watching science fiction when you see those hypersonic missiles go. You know, I know how they got so far ahead of us. We always used to be number one in everything. Now, pretty soon. And last I heard, one of our hypersonic missiles didn't work and exploded over the ocean somewhere, and they're still trying to pick up the pieces. I'm joking about that, but I don't know. 2025 is a long way off before we can get a hypersonic missile going. You know, and now you hear now North Korea just fired an intercontinental ballistic missile that they say could travel the globe. So it's getting mighty congested up there in the sky, mighty congested with all these hypersonic missiles and missile tests. You know, we better really be on the ball pretty soon and stop fighting over this stupid stuff about election stuff that who did this and who did that. And out of space, coming from outer space, talking about people from outer space hijacking our elections, and meanwhile we got all this missiles going around us, hypersonics in North Korea, and we're talking about outer space missiles, outer space Jewish spaceships coming down and messing with our elections, and all these people are laughing at us. Here in America's worried about Jewish spaceships, and we got all these hypersonic missiles, and we got intercontinental ballistic. Kim Jong-un laughing his head off when he hears about all this stuff about from outer space, Jewish spaceships interfering with our election. Okay, there you have it. Okay, that's okay. Now I always like to get back here to just show you what was happening a year ago before we go into the countdown. This was my book from 2020 here. Okay, and then you got this was a cartoon from March 20th of 2020, 2 years ago, and here you had Anthony Fauci putting his hand over his head, and you had here, as Trump during White House press briefing on coronavirus refers to the U.S. State Department as the Deep State Department. President Trump called the State Department the Deep State Department because he was saying the Deep State was out to sabotage him. So he called it the State Department the Deep State Department. and he was a little, I think he was a little annoyed with the Secretary of State Mike Pompeo at the time. So there's Mike Pompeo. He doesn't look too happy. He was annoyed with Mike Pompeo right in front of the Secretary of State. He calls his State Department the Deep State Department, right in front of Pompeo. And there's Pompeo looking there. He didn't look too happy hearing that. So and then Fauci put his hand over his face, and here goes President Trump talking about the deep state, refers to the U.S. State Department as the Deep State Department with Secretary of State Mike Pompeo. National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Disease Director Anthony Fauci buries his face in his hand, his conceivable thoughts. So Fauci's thoughts at the time when he heard President Trump call the State Department deep state, saying, "I should have taken that job as medical disease director for Washington State nursing homes, where they had all that trouble when the pandemic was first beginning with the coronavirus." So he regrets being on the national spotlight. So that was from March. That was 2 years ago from this book here. So I've tried to keep up the things that's going on, everything that happens that's of any meaning, whether it's a Democrat, Republican, Independent, whatever. I get the cartoon and I zoom in on it. So there it is. That was the book. And this is my latest book that I have now. I showed on the cover, I have Trump running for 2024, and there's his Republicans, and there is the select committee trying to get at him, and they're blocking him from the investigations and everything like that. And he's got the football, and that was the cover of the book there. Okay, you can order these books from Richard's Books at politicalcartoons.com, and or you could just go to my website and look at all my books and all the sample cartoons and have a good time like a political Disney World. Okay, I always wish you the best. Have a good time. That's the main thing. Have a good time, and try not to take this. Try to take this stuff and make the right decisions about who you vote for. Think about who you vote for. You should be thinking when you vote for somebody. Think about and make sure you vote. And if they say you got to do this, you got to do that. You got to write 50,000 times. Your name 50,000 times. You write your name 50,000 times. If they tell you, well, you didn't dot the I, then you dot the I. Whatever they tell you to do, you got to do to vote. Nobody can stop you from voting if you keep doing and you're persistent in doing what you have to do. And so that's what my advice is to you. Make sure you vote. Okay? Our country and our lives depend on it. Don't joke about that. All right, now here's the top 3 cartoons of the week. Starting off with Numero Tres on Twitter, based upon impressions. Okay, let's get to number 3 here. Let's do this way, like I always do. Okay, now here I have President Xi. President Xi just off of a meeting, a virtual meeting with President Biden. And in the meeting, Biden warned Xi that if you start helping militarily or economically significantly with Russia with this war effort, then you're going to pay economically. It's going to be a price to pay. And Xi nodded his head. And so that's what they say, that he understands the ramifications. So then on the other side of the coin, Xi said, we're going to make some help. We're going to help Ukraine also make some humanitarian commitments. So far they haven't done nothing about it. They haven't done a thing. They'll just talk about it. A 6-point plan. I haven't heard the 6-point plan or anything about that. So that's where this is coming from. Okay. So here I'm going to read this to you because I don't want to miss out anything here. Okay. There's Xi making his 30 seconds over Mariupol, Ukraine. Xi, 30 seconds over. There was a book and a movie, 30 Seconds Over Tokyo. Well, this is 30 seconds over Mariupol, Ukraine, with President Xi in a J-20 China jet fighter. Okay. There he is. Zoom on, there he goes. He's over Mariupol. There's Mariupol below, and he's dropping these spicy hot mustard sauce packages for the people as humanitarian aid, spicy hot mustard sauce for the people of Mariupol who have no water or food. Okay, as a humanitarian effort. A little sarcasm there, but so far I haven't seen anything. He promised a 6-point plan, and where is this now? I haven't seen even 1 point yet, and that was over a week ago. So President Xi Jinping, humanitarian 30 seconds over Mariupol, Ukraine, mustard airdrop from China fighter jet. Given following Xi's virtual meeting with President Biden, the China Foreign Ministry did not provide details on humanitarian aid Beijing is, quote, ready to give. He said they're ready to give humanitarian help. And a political analyst has said, Xi, quote, can't stomach doing something that might make his, quote, best friend. Now, Xi called Putin his best friend, so he's his best friend. Putin look bad. And President Zelensky has said the city is without, Mariupol is without food or water or electricity or power or anything. It's like bomb back to the Stone Age. But the people there are still hanging in there. They're still hanging in there, and they're still defending the city. It's incredible. This go down in history like the Alamo. I mean, this makes the Alamo look, I don't know, even in the Alamo look like nothing. I'm not that the Alamo was something, fighting for Texas and all that for the country. But this is here. This is modern day warfare. In those days, they had guns and they had all kinds of cannons and all that business. This is really big stuff here. All this. This is 20th, 21st century stuff that they're using on these people. And the Russians don't want to go in there. They're just staying back and just pummeling the thing because they don't want to lose men. You see, and that's why they're sending in their hypersonic missiles and planes and stuff like that, because they don't want to go into the meat grinder, the Ukrainian meat grinder, and lose more men. And now they're trying to look for Belarus. They're looking for Syria, mercenaries to get more people to join in the meat grinder. Okay, so here we got. So here it is. So I'm saying here, against them, with my best friend Putin. They can't make Putin. President Zelensky has said the city's without food or water. So here is, gee, now he's flying over, and then he's got this spicy hot mustard, a jar of spicy hot mustard there, you see? That's the spicy hot mustard he's showing to the people. There's the flag, there's the ship, there is the plane. He's flying over. He's dropping bags of the spicy hot mustard sauce. Okay, there he goes. He's over the city. There. Okay, there's the city ablaze, and there he's dropping this stuff. And he's saying, here, China, spicy hot mustard aid package from Mariupol. Very good for hot dog cookout and Peking duck. Okay? There it is. There it is. There he goes. Okay, again, we haven't seen any kind of humanitarian aid, a 6-point plan that he mentioned to President Biden. Where's 1 point of the 6 points? We haven't seen that. All people are talking about is they don't want China to help Russia. Nobody's even talking about that they said this and they're not going to help Russia. No, because everybody says that doesn't mean nothing compared to them helping Russia. So nobody's even talking about that, except me. Okay. All right. Now, here we got Abbott and Costello meet Putin. Okay? There it is. Abbott and Costello, those of you who remember them from the 50s, is Abbott. This is Lou Costello and Bud Abbott. Bud Abbott, Lou Costello. They were a comedy team from the 50s. Okay. Abbott and Costello meet Putin via Putin's warning to traders on Wednesday, saying the West would try to use them as a fifth column to destroy Russia, saying the Russian people will always be able to distinguish true patriots from scum and traitors and simply spit them out like a gnat that accidentally flew into their mouths. So basically, President Putin is going after the people in Russia who are not standing with him and the people who are protesting it. protesting, and the oligarchs who are not falling in line, and they're getting hit now with all these sanctions, and their boats are being taken. So some of the oligarchs are getting a little upset, and them plus the people who are protesting. So Putin is lashing out at those Russian people, okay, who he calls basically scum, and like you got to spit them out like they were gnats that got caught in your mouth. I remember when my aunt, she had a home up in Mayo. That's terrible, those gnats. I remember when I used to go, I went to Mayopac. My aunt bought a summer home once up in Mayopac, New York, and we went up there in the springtime to see the house for the first time, and there were these gnats all over the place. They did get in your mouth, and I remember they did get in your mouth. Those gnats are a pain in the neck, you know. I remember that. So gnats are something. They are a real pain. They really can get all over you, those gnats. Okay. So here it goes. So here they are watching President Putin make his talk about that. Okay. And here he goes, like a gnat actually flew in their mouths, spit them out, calling for a necessary cleansing. Now he's calling for a cleansing of Russian society and a denazification of Ukraine. The guy's Jewish, you know. Zelensky's a Jewish man. He talked about the other day about his family were victimized by the Nazis, and he's calling him a Nazi. I don't know. I just don't know. So that you just so. But anyway, Abbott Costello has their own take on that. Especially Costello has his own take on that. So here's his take on that. Okay. So here we go. We have Abbott responding to Costello. What do you mean, Costello, by saying that's very hygienic of Putin? Okay, so he's saying that Abbott Costello says that's very hygienic of Putin to say that. You know, he's talking about the gnats and getting rid of Nazis. And then Abbott goes, look, okay, what do you mean, Costello? And then Costello says, look, Abbott, it sounds like Putin wants denazification of Ukraine and denatification for Russia. Get rid of all the gnats, you know? He wants denatification for Russia and denazification for Ukraine. Sounds okay, right? Okay. And then goes Abbott. But President Zelensky of Ukraine is Jewish, you idiot. He's not a Nazi. And then Luke Costello comes back, you know, like who's on first? What's on third? You know, remember that? And then he goes, I don't get it, Abbott. You mean to tell me Putin went to war with Ukraine over gnats? Because if he didn't go to war over the Nazis, he must have gone to war over gnats. So that's Costello's reasoning there. You know, like who's on first? What's on second? No, who's on first? No, what's on second? No, what's on third? You know, remember that? I don't know's on first. You know, so there you have it. Okay, let's zoom in on them. Okay. All right, number one of the week. This was number one of the week. Now here you have President Trump, former President Trump, having a dream. He had a dream, basically, that he had parachute jump into Kyiv, and Putin and making a deal with Putin over ceasefire, because former President Trump the other day he was at a fundraiser for Republicans, I believe it was, and he said that if he was president, elected president now, if he feels he should be president, okay, let's put it that way. If he were in the capacity of president, Putin never would have gone into Ukraine. Okay, that's his position here. I will tell you that the invasion never would have happened if I was president. Okay? Okay, no. He told a Fox News host, he did say it there, but this is in this cartoon, I have it because specifically he told Sean Hannity, Fox News host Sean Hannity this. He told Sean Hannity this on Fox News. This is what he told Sean Hannity. Okay, he might have said it at a fundraiser too, probably did. But this is, for what I'm representing here, he told it to Sean Hannity, because I saw that. Okay, I didn't see the other thing, so I'm saying I'm going to represent it as he said it to Fox News host Sean Hannity, because that I saw. Okay, and so then here, President Trump, former President Trump, has a dream that he made a deal with Putin, and he's going to go in. He's going to parachute into Kiev, and Putin's going to stop all hostilities, all the bombing, everything, and he's going to just come in on a parachute, and everything's going to be the bombing. Everything's going to stop for the city of Kiev, the capital, which is what they're concentrating on now. You know, they really want their capital. You know, the Kiev. They really want it, because that's once they get that, then they figure they bomb the people out. People take off. Everybody gives up, and the president Zelensky goes somewhere, leaves there and goes somewhere else, and then he into exile, and then he's got the country. So that's really what they're striving for here. And Mariupol again is taking the biggest shot, by probably for other reasons that we talked about. It's on the coast, and it's in its way in his expressway going from the Crimea all the way up through that Mariupol and the coastline and all that business. Okay, so that's strategic, and this is more political and more. This is the throat of, you take the government out, you take the country, you know, and so Kiev is really the number one focal point. So here we have again Trump parachuting into Kiev in a dream that he made a deal with Putin, after saying that to Sean Hannity. Okay, that had he been president, Putin never would have launched an invasion of Ukraine. Okay, so here is Putin on the telephone talking to him as he's parachuting down in the dream. He goes, "Watch out for those dumb bombs, President Trump." Okay, and then number two, Putin, "We agreed, no bombs on my great peace parachute into Kiev." There goes these dumb bombs they're not guided missiles. They're just things that drop from the sky that explode, you know, almost like giant firecrackers, you know, dumb bombs. Okay, so we agreed, no bombs on my great peace parachute into Kiev. And then Putin says, "I'm only using dumb bomb because it's April Fool's Day. April Fool's Day. I'm only using the dumb bombs because it's April Fool's Day." And then Trump says, "But it's still only March." And then Putin says here, "So I'm a few days ahead of schedule." You know, Putin always talks about his schedule. Everything's going according to plan. So he's a few days ahead of schedule. So here you have former President Trump parachuting into Kiev in his dream, trying to make peace with Putin, as if to say, well, I need to prove to the people that I can make peace because nobody's believing me. So he had a dream, an aspirational dream, that he could now, as a former president perhaps, convince Putin to let him parachute down. Could you imagine how that would help his campaign if he went in there and then Putin said, "Okay, President Trump, let's talk." After he stops everything in Kyiv, and they talk, and then the whole thing settles down, and then Putin pulls out. Could you imagine Trump running for president? Trump would be. Could you imagine that? Nobody could say nothing to the man there. He'd want a crown for his head. He'd order a crown, a gold crown, from Tiffany's, that he'd want to wear a gold crown on his head from Tiffany's after that, as a king, you know. All right, folks. I've said enough. All right. I hope you enjoyed this cartoon. I wish you the best. Again, I gave it to you with a spoonful of medicine, and I wish you all the best. You take care of yourselves. Have a good week, and God bless you, and God bless America. Take care, folks, and I'll see you again real soon. Bye.